The Nightly Business Report.
Good evening. Tonight, the IMF confirms sufficient progress has been made for debt restructuring to move forward. A new property tax through the implementation of a sales price and rents register. It's more red than green this week as the CSE caps off Friday with lows for the third consecutive day. And Mercantile Investment celebrates 6 decades of excellence with brand new, innovative services. A very good evening and thank you for joining us on the Nightly Business Report. I'm Anuradha Wickramasinghe. Joining the IMF press briefing on Sri Lanka's second review of the EFF program held virtually just this morning, IMF Senior Mission Chief for Sri Lanka, Peter Breuer, stated that the IMF fully respects the democratic process for elections to take place in any country and they adapt to the relevant process, and stated that there is sufficient progress for Sri Lanka's debt restructuring process to move forward. Furthermore, he mentioned that the elections may affect the timing of IMF's missions they conduct in order to discuss compliance with the program and reforms going forward. Mr. Breuer added that the elections have not been called yet and they will await that and discuss with authorities how they can adapt their schedule to that of the elections. He went on to state the process with which the reduction in government revenues had contributed to this very severe crisis in Sri Lanka, and that rebuilding these revenues is an important objective of the program in order to allow Sri Lanka to emerge from the crisis.
The key to transitioning from stabilization to a full economic recovery is sustaining the reform momentum amid strong ownership by the authorities and the Sri Lankan people more broadly. We encourage the authorities to continue to build on these hard-won gains and remain steadfast with their reform commitments. To restore fiscal sustainability, sustaining revenue mobilization efforts, promptly finalizing the debt restructuring in line with program targets, and protecting social and capital spending remain critical. Advancing public financial management will help enhance fiscal discipline, and strengthening the debt management framework is also needed.
The IMF report also said that Sri Lanka will bring changes to a Strategic Development Act to limit the discretionary tax break. The report went on to state that giving tax breaks to some implies higher taxes on others. Sri Lanka's current crisis stemmed in part from tax cuts made for macroeconomic policy. The SDP Act, through its discretionary tax breaks, have come under fire for being open to corruption. The report said the authorities committed to refrain from new tax exemptions, incentives and from approving new projects under the SDP, and that they will submit amendments to the SDP Act introducing transparent, rule-based eligibility criteria for granting time-bound incentives to Parliament by the end of February next year. Under the SDP law, not only are corporate tax exemptions given, but also value-added and tax in an unusual situation, senior management are exempt from taxes. Sri Lanka has found it difficult to attract foreign investors amid monetary instability coming from operational frameworks with anchor conflicts, which leads to crises and instability. The IMF deal also confirms that Sri Lanka will charge taxes on owner-occupied and vacant residential houses on imputed or imaginary rents from April of next year after aggressive macroeconomic policy pushed the country into sovereign default. The imputed rents will be calculated based on a property price register. However, there will be an exemption threshold. A nationwide digital sales price and rents register, or SPRR, is to be set up by March of next year and accessible to the Department of Inland Revenue. The report said that this digital SPRR would be the key resource for assessing property values and the imputed rental income tax. A database on property valuations that includes information such as assessed values, latest assessment dates and property type in all municipal councils will be in place by August of this year. Sri Lanka will amend the Notaries Act to improve data sharing among government entities. There will be an exemption threshold for small houses and increasingly higher rates to make the tax progressive. Imputed rents will add 0.15% to the revenue to GDP. The first ever textile and apparel fashion exhibition, Sourced Sri Lanka, promoted by Sri Lanka Apparel Sourcing Association, the Export Development Board and Joint Apparel Association Forum, will be held in London on the 17th and 18th of this month. It hopes to improve the UK and EU market involvement with Sri Lanka. The event is also being actively supported by the Sri Lanka High Commission in London. The event will feature 50 exhibitors, including 10 SME sector companies, and they're expected to attract a diverse audience of 1,000 foreign buyers, not only from the UK, but from Europe as well, and Sri Lankan trade visitors. Secretary General of the JAAF, Johan Lawrence, said that Sri Lanka's focus on marketing apparel to the UK was mainly done through large companies representing world-famous brands. However, for the first time, Sourced Sri Lanka show will be given an opportunity from the SME sector, which were not exposed to the UK and European markets, to showcase their products. High Commissioner for Sri Lanka in London, Rohitha Bokulagama, said an event of this magnitude should have been hosted very much before this, as there is a huge market for local apparel in the UK. The chairman of the Export Development Board, Dr. Kingsley Bernard, had high hopes for the results of this initiative.
There will be a little exhibition of our apparel products, and as well as there are seminars, and these conducted in collaboration with JAF, Joint Apparel Association Forum, and Apparel Sourcing Association of Sri Lanka, together with the High Commission in UK. Actually, we are very hopeful that we will be able to find more new buyers from UK. At the moment, we have only a few buyers, but we know that there is a potential.
Let's take a short commercial break. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. The CSE sees red for the third straight day this week as the ASPI and S&P SL20 closed with losses, capping off this week with more negatives than positives. For more on this, we have Rishita Pereira from SC Securities.
Yes. Today the indices closed in red as sellers were dominant in index-heavy counters such as Dialog Asiata, Commercial Bank of Ceylon, HNB, LOLC and Hales. The all-share price index closed at 12,310 points with a decline of 49 points. The S&P SL20 index closed at 3,645, a decline of 15 points. The turnover was recorded at 1.284 billion rupees with a share volume of 44.7 million. The top 5 gainers were SMB Finance Non-Voting, Palm Garden Hotels, Odell PLC, Satosa Motors and Macwoods Energy. And the top 5 losers were Blue Diamonds, SMB Finance, Dialog Asiata, Tess Agro and Mahavali Reach Hotels. Daily crossing volumes included 525,000 shares of Haley's Fabrics, 100,000 shares of John Keel's Holdings and 500,000 shares of TJ Lanka, with a total crossing turnover exceeding 296 million.
The market saw some ups and downs across the past week, with IMF developments and bond and bill auctions causing ripples in buyer sentiment. To get a wrap-up of how the markets performed this week, let's connect with Tarusha Ashokgar from First Capital Holdings.
The Colombo stock market this week saw a mixed sentiment, with the all-share price index closing the week at 12,310.83, experiencing a marginal drop of 4 points compared to the previous week's closing of 12,314.38. The week commenced on a positive note, driven by heightened investor optimism ahead of the IMF second review. However, this positive trajectory was short-lived as the market started dipping midweek, influenced by uncertainty surrounding external debt restructuring. Despite the successful conclusion of the IMF second review, the overshadowing effect of the EDR uncertainties resulted in a subdued market atmosphere towards the end of the week. However, the market turnover remained resilient, consistently surpassing LKR 1 billion mark. The weekly average stood at LKR 2 billion, marking an 80% increase compared to the previous week, primarily fueled by off-board transactions. While retail participation remained subdued, there was a notable uptick in high net worth and institutional investor participation. Key investor interest was observed in the banking sector and blue chip counters such as John Keells Holdings, LOLC Holdings and Haley's, which largely supported the index. Consequently, the capital goods sector emerged as the dominant contributor to the turnover, closely followed by the banking sector during the week. Foreign investor participation remained low throughout the week, with total foreign buying recorded at LCAT 306 million and foreign selling at LCAT 889 million, resulting in a net foreign outflow of LCAT 583 million.
Gold prices moved very little in Asian trade today, pressured by a rebound in the dollar as the prospect of fewer U.S. interest rate cuts largely offset optimism over some cooling in inflation. Spot gold rose 0.1% to $2,305.23 an ounce, while gold futures expiring in August rose 0.1% to $2,320.15 an ounce. While the yellow metal marked some gains for the week, it was nursing a sharp tumble from record highs in the face of high interest rates. And oil prices were stable today and on course for their best week in more than 2 months after solid projections for crude oil and fuel demand. Brent crude futures were down 19 cents or 0.23% at $82.56 a barrel, while West Texas Intermediate U.S. crude futures lost 32 cents or 0.41% to $78.30. The Sri Lankan rupee has depreciated further against the US dollar at commercial banks in Sri Lanka today. According to the People's Bank, the buying and selling rates of the US dollar have increased from 297 rupees and 87 cents to 298 rupees and 36 cents, and from 307 rupees and 96 cents to 308 rupees and 47 cents respectively. At Commercial Bank, the buying rate of the US dollar has increased from 297 rupees and 33 cents to 297 rupees and 58 cents, while the selling rate has increased from 307 rupees and 50 cents to 307 rupees and 75 cents. Now let's observe how the rupee has behaved against other global currencies today. Let's take a short commercial break. This is the Nightly Business Report. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Mercantile Investments and Finance PLC celebrated its 60th anniversary in a grand event held at the JAIC Hilton Hotel, Colombo today. The event was marked by the launch of a commemorative anniversary stamp and the introduction of an innovative new product range, underscoring the company's commitment to innovation and growth. In a heartfelt ceremony during the press conference, Mercantile Investments unveiled a special anniversary stamp. This stamp symbolizes not only the company's rich heritage, but also its significant contributions to Sri Lanka's financial landscape over the past 6 decades. Continuing its tradition of pioneering in financial solutions, Mercantile Investments introduced a new collection of innovative financial products designed to meet the diverse and evolving needs of their clientele. The new products product range includes specialized leasing, gold loans, savings and green initiatives to encourage sustainable financing. The newly launched leasing options feature Lease Draft, offering competitive terms for general leasing needs, and Empower, designed to empower women with accessible leasing solutions. Additionally, the company launched a series of green initiatives, including financing options for electric vehicles, solar energy projects, and Govidiria, a program designed to support sustainable agricultural practices. As Mercantile Investments embarks on its next phase of growth, the company remains steadfast in its mission to uphold depositor trust and interest while sustainable financial inclusion and economic development in Sri Lanka.
And we will always be a company that's not just looking at profits. We have to be a comprehensive. We are admired in profits, we are admired in our employees, we are admired in the business activity we do, and the social responsibility. So there'll be about 10 different elements of what's important to us, and that 10 years, the next 10 years is going to be, I would say, some interesting things, some very good things that will come out, and we are planting seeds for it presently.
And according to the latest Kantar Brands Most Valuable Global Brands 2024 report, Bide has successfully retained its position within the top 10 global automotive brands for the second consecutive year, with a brand value exceeding $10 billion. This comes just as Minister Bandula Gunawardena spoke on the preparations for the EV Motor Show in Sri Lanka by Bide today. As a global company operating across 4 major industries, automotive, rail transit, new energy and electronics, Bide has established a strategic presence across 6 continents. In 2023, Bide's car sales surpassed 3.02 million units, with exports increasing by 334% year-on-year. To date, Bide has sold over 7.6 million new energy vehicles. With a steadfast belief in long-term development, Bide continues to build a respected global brand. This year, Bide became an official partner of UEFA Euro 2024. Additionally, Bide launched its 5th-generation dual-mode technology, boasting world-leading performance. Bide believes that all these efforts lead to international success, as evidenced by its nearly 2-decade-long commitment to new energy technology. A media briefing was held today to announce the way forward and steps taken in participation of the Asia Motor Show by Sri Lanka, with hopes held high for the successful year. Sri Lanka's Jat Holdings PLC, which produces wood coatings and brushes, said it had begun manufacturing its own binders at its new plant in Horana and hopes to export the product in the future. The new binder plant began operations in March of this year, with the project valued at 1.5 billion rupees. The official ceremonial opening was held, marking a significant achievement for the company. The company said in a stock exchange filing that this state-of-the-art facility will complement Jat's Al-Qaid resin plant in Bangladesh, strengthening its cross-border manufacturing capabilities. Supported by Jat's premier R&D center in Sri Lanka, the binder plant will enable the company to produce its own binders, essential for wood coatings and emulsion paint. This backward vertical integration is set to optimize production efficiency and enhance product quality, delivering greater value to customers. The USAID-funded Sri Lanka Energy Project has received an Innovation Award at the 2024 Annual Conference for the Society for International Development for its solar-powered electric vehicle battery swapping stations. Owned and operated by Sling Mobility Private Limited, the stations were recognized for their impact on sustainable urban mobility and economic development in the country. Sling's 360-degree sustainable mobility project provides cost-effective and efficient solutions to the retail logistics sector through a smart electric vehicle ecosystem, which reduces the high initial costs of buying batteries and e-bikes by offering a battery subscription service. The Board of Directors of SoftLogic Life Insurance plc has announced a share repurchase program aimed at enhancing capital management and optimizing shareholder value. The decision will see the company offer to purchase up to 58,592,750 shares at ₹102.40 per share, representing a total value of up to ₹6 billion. This repurchase offer, subject to shareholder approval at an extraordinary general meeting, will enable the company to maintain a prudent capital adequacy ratio, ensuring seamless business operations. The offer period for the share repurchase is scheduled from July 30th of this year to August 13th of this year. Shareholders will be entitled to sell 5 shares out of every 32 shares held as of the record date. Prime Group has announced the relocation of its Galle branch at number 66 Havelock Road to a more strategically positioned and technologically advanced space. The move marks a significant milestone in Prime Group's journey, offering valued customers enhanced convenience, modern infrastructure, and a reaffirmation of commitment to providing excellent service. The new branch's infrastructure and processes have been upgraded to enable superior customer service and unparalleled accessibility, elevating the customer experience of Prime Group's prestigious client base. Leveraging in-house expertise, Prime Group has introduced several key enhancements for the new space, including the integration of an automated ERP platform focused on the payment and procurement modules and the implementation process. The improvements aim to ensure streamlined workflows, data-driven monitoring, a reduction in reliance on traditional paper records, and strengthened operational oversight, aiding customers to receive efficient fulfillment of their requests along with a seamless experience. Prime Group announced that it's set to launch a new project in the picturesque town of Waligama and plans to implement several new projects along the southern coastline. We're going in for a short commercial break. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back. Most Asian stocks fell today as a rally on signs of cooling U.S. inflation wound down, while Japanese shares rose after the Bank of Japan surprised markets by signaling no near-term changes to its bond buying program. China's Shanghai Shenzhen CSI 300 and Shanghai Composite indexes fell 0.6% and 0.4% respectively, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng lost 0.6%. Japan's Nikkei 225 and Topix indexes rose 0.7% and 0.3% respectively after trading sideways for most of the day. Australia's ASX 200 fell 0.3%, while futures for India's Nifty 50 index pointed to a flat open after the index notched a series of new peaks this week. South Korea's Kospi was an outlier, rising 0.3% on some sustained strength in technology stocks. Well, that concludes today's Nightly Business Report. We'll see you again on Monday with the latest happenings around the business globe. Until then, I'm Anuradhi Wickramasinghe. Have a good night.